Thank you. All right, guys, I'm quickly going to reintroduce myself for the people that just joined. I'm Alizé, Gen Z creative strategist and cultural analyst. I'm at the forefront of guerrilla journalism, and I'm the founder of the platform What's Trending Tomorrow. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome to the stage one of the most influential creative minds, really, shaping the future of sportswear and fashion. As PUMA's global creative director, you have been the driving force behind some of the brand's most iconic revivals. From the Mostro to high-concept Fashion Week takeovers in New York and Paris, and really with a career that spans luxury, innovation, and bold cultural statements. You continue to push the boundaries between performance, style, and storytelling. Please join me in welcoming Heiko. Thank you, Heiko, for being here.
Thanks for having me. That sounds so good when you read it.
I love it. All right, let's start with something that's really core to PUMA's DNA, yeah? This idea of being imperfect by design is really in the core of what PUMA does, but what does that actually mean in practice for how you show up as a brand?
Well, you can say imperfect, being imperfect. I also quite often refer to it as like an underdog or being the little bit more underrated or different brand in this sort of scene. In the past, of course, we were always striving to be just like the other big companies. So we're coming from a time where like being same or similar was a valuable currency, and you just touch base on that. So we're coming from a decade of that. So also we were, of course, trying to be a little bit more uniformed and just not go away from what everybody was comfortable with. But you actually made a point that this comes to an end right now. We see that. So we also, as a brand, noticed, well, we are actually a bit the weird one in this sort of pack of brands. So we should actually embrace that much more and actually be more proud of that.
Yeah, completely. I couldn't agree more. Do you think that maybe imperfection might be the new luxury?
Say again?
Do you maybe think that imperfection, as you just talked about, might be the new luxury?
Yes, luxury. Also, I think it speaks to being more individual, to what people actually want to impress much more, express more, to be themselves, individualistic in their style, in their point of views. And I think we need to mirror that as a brand. And I think we do have a great chance to do that with going back to actually what we used to be in the past.
Amazing. You've obviously worked with some of those global icons like Dua Lipa, Rihanna, now also Amelia Gray. Touching upon that imperfection, right, and that authenticity, personality, what makes someone truly feel aligned to PUMA? What's a non-negotiable as an ambassador?
Well, we can talk about Rihanna as an example. So, of course, like in the sort of, when you see her on social, she is very powerful, but also she is a person, she differentiates herself, she celebrates her sort of imperfection in a way and makes it an asset, and that speaks to us, you know? I mean, she's beautiful.
Yes.
Like, without a doubt, but she also is proud of how she is different compared to a comparable successful female in the entertainment business. And that sort of spoke to us in the first round when we worked with her. And again, now it's also the eye-to-eye relationship we have with her.
Amazing. If we deep dive a little bit more into like some of the iconic collaborations that you guys have done, of course, Puma Jill Sander really stands out. Can you tell me a little bit more how those partnerships actually reflect the brand's evolving identity? How did that come to life?
Let's go back to the Jill Sander collaboration. That is like late 90s, early 2000s. So, I mean, I am truly proud that this has happened, even I wasn't part of it, because when you go back, you need to consider that her as a visionary, she sort of created a whole industry with this collab partner. She was the true first collaborator with a sportswear brand. There wasn't such a thing before. And her approach was fairly simple back in the days. She just wanted to break the rules. She wanted to bring comfort into a almost corseted fashion world. That was the simple intention, and she was challenging us at that time to do so, because for PUMA it was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Who is she? What does she want? This is like a sneaker in sort of that scene. Interestingly is that we also want to go back to exactly that. I mean, we have to admit, there's a lot of collaboration out there, and this is turning very quickly. But the point is, you need to meet a partner which is an eye-to-eye partnership, and also you want a partner who challenges you. So for us, there's no intention, we don't want to be a fashion brand.
Yeah.
We are a sports brand.
Yep.
And we want to stick to that because it's important for our audience. This is what we are really good at. With the brand partnerships, though, we want to have people challenging us and challenging our design rules and our sort of ways doing things. That is the reason for a partnership, for us at least. So I think we need to come back to more of that. Definitely. Because a lot of what's going on in this game is a little bit tiresome.
It really feels like that sometimes. Yeah. Amazing. Let's talk a little bit about like the experience as like kind of the future like of engagement. So how brands show up in the real world is something that, I don't know, there's been a huge debate about the quality of it. How authentic does it feel? PUMA has done some incredible activations. One of the things that stood out for me was definitely the amazing Mostro Show 2024 in New York. Can you tell me a little bit about that and like what was the real reason of the show?
That sort of relates to what we just talked about. We noticed that in our sort of world, most of the brands do very similar products. And it's just about the logo, and people were happy about it for quite a long time. So they wanted to have the same white sneaker from XYZ, so everybody did the same sort of product. But as you said, times are changing. We noticed, okay, we need to go back to what was actually a little bit more sort of disruptive and surprising looking. And the Mostro Show, Mostro is a shoe from PUMA, which literally is very different. It's spiky, is a little bit scary, is a little bit ugly, and is very low to the ground. So everything but pretty. So, and that was a moment when we noticed that a lot of people were actually gravitating, getting those products from old vintage stores and were customizing them and owning them in a way. And then we were like, hang on a second, I think this sort of the times are changing. We have those beautiful stories. Let's bring it back to life in a new way, though.
Yeah, definitely. What do you feel like does it take? Like, what does it take today to kind of create more of a cultural movement instead of just like a product launch or a drop?
I think the point is that there's several tools or several things we're taking way more serious. First of all, we try not to pretend to be something what we are not. It's also like as a brand, the same rules apply as for a person. And I think this is the same thing. And so we really try to not be that sort of perfect sort of polished brand. We try to be different, and we try to sort of be open about it. This is one thing. And also then if you actually stick to your stories, authenticity, and talk about where you're coming from and what you want to be. We don't want to be a fashion brand. We are a sports brand. I think this all pays into this authenticity. Talking about what you also mentioned with sustainability, I think I could very much relate what you just said. So everybody talked about it. We talked about it a lot because we wanted to talk about it. But then also we noticed, we kind of just do like what everyone else is. Like the most important thing is what you do. Exactly. You don't necessarily need to talk about it. You just do things which are better or continuously better, and you are humble about it. I feel like this is the key things.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. PUMA is also, like, as you just said, you're not a fashion brand, you're a sports brand. I think, of course, you're very famous for the collaborations with those key people like Rihanna, but I also know that PUMA is doing so much with athletes and like all of that and that emotion behind it, being on the field. Tell me a little bit of the role of PUMA there, and also for you personally, what's your take on selecting those athletes and being there with them?
Yeah, I mean, of course, everyone is interested about the latest sort of entertainment collab because you can read it everywhere. It's exciting. Then you have a lot of fashion or streetwear collabs that's sort of also speaking to a certain audience. But what we don't talk as much about, but is for me personally even much more exciting, is the collaboration we have with athletes. So it is. I deal with like both sides of it equally, and it's so very different. You have like athletes have a very distinct and simple need towards products. Used to have. I'm coming to that later. So it is also fascinating to work with them, what they want to have, what they need, and the one really fun fact is that with the athletes, you have very disciplined people to work with. With the fashion brands, are not very disciplined. You know, it's very different. But it's quite a nice balance, and we do this a lot.
Amazing. If it comes down to like even a bit more like co-creation, and like as you said, we have the athletes. A lot of community is around that. Yeah. I feel like sometimes brands use the word community too much. They overuse it. They don't actually know what they're saying just because it sounds good. I feel like PUMA has a really, really strong community that's been around for years and also from generation to generation. What's the thought, the process behind that? Is that on purpose? How do you feel you've built that out throughout the years of your legacy time there?
Yeah, I mean, the community topic is very important, and we are also in a time where this is shifting because similar to product trends, although the communication was very streamlined, and the ideal was to believe you can talk to the whole world with one tone of voice or one message, but I think we are in the phase of being proven wrong, and the regional touch points with communities, regions, countries, clubs, etc. is so much more powerful. It's the chase for the let's just make sure we have millions of sort of clicks and etc. But we're still in the baby steps of learning this is not so important, instead of having something really meaningful for a smaller crowd, just like this, you know? Okay. And this is what we are learning now, that there's a lot of focus to that. What we do in Paris to speak to that moment, this community at a time, it needs to be tailor-made to that moment. Then you touch the emotion or the interest of consumer. That's the only way. This is more and more that the big blockbuster campaign don't really speak to the people anymore. And I mean, you have differences even within Europe, but just imagine globally. I mean, why do we think what we do here really speaks to people in China or in Japan? That is not the case anymore.
Definitely. That hyper-localization and that emotion and the understanding of like subcultures, I think is key. I love that. That's incredible. So looking ahead, we talked a lot about the next generation, right, of consumers. What is something, and we talked a lot about things that have to change, but what's something that you're really, really excited for with this new generation of consumers and talent?
Well, what I'm excited is and what I enjoy is the sort of the openness and the conversation. This is really, it's sometimes painful, but it's also great. So I feel like what I'm excited about, that this sort of ivory tower sort of mentality is kind of boring in a way, and I think it's the direct touch point, the sort of the pain of feedback or the excitement of when people are excited. I think that's what I feel like now will be so much stronger going further, and specifically with the way we're going to be starting to consumers to talk to consumers.
Amazing, thank you so much. This has been incredible. If there's a few takeaways that I have, some key takeaways for all of you guys. First, brands can no longer be wanting. They really have to embrace that imperfection and contradiction. Culture isn't something you follow, but it's something you actually really understand, participate in, and build as a brand. And then lastly, the future of connection isn't necessarily about going louder or bigger, but it's about intimacy, emotion, being where they are, and really genuinely wanting to be a part of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe we have a few minutes left for some questions from the audience, if you are up for it. Let me see if there are any questions from the audience to add. Hands in the air. Yes, here is a question. Oh, let's do that one first. Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Amanda, and I would like to ask from, I don't know if there's like a specific answer, but seeing cases like Paris Saint-Germain with all the players being very much in touch with like Louis Vuitton and bringing that to the field, do you believe that PUMA would touch like something like that, maybe like haute couture, like sports brand, or is this something definitely not in touch with the mission?
Well, I give you a personal answer here. I am really excited about those sort of projects, personally interested. And of course, we look into that, and I will definitely also push for that. This is really fun. This collision between those worlds is exciting. It's a lot of fun, and it's sort of two very authentic worlds coming together. That feels good. I mean, you made a great example. This is really outstanding. I mean, in that sort of vein, it's going to be more we will be doing, of course, and it's also definitely what I'm super excited about.
Hi. You said earlier that athletes used to look for simple products, but that's not the case anymore. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, sorry, we didn't touch that. It used to be that athletes had really in the focus the performance. And I think we see it in a lot of sports categories that the aspect of style and comfort in a way of looking good is so important for the performance. We have a lot of athletes saying, equally to the technical performance, I need to feel really good about myself, whatever that is. It can be a color, it can be a cut line, it can be a material, helps to perform much better. It's sort of this sort of input they're getting, or the feeling they're having about how they look accelerates their results. We have this conversation much more, which wasn't a conversation if you go 10, 15, 20 years back. So this is also something very new, and also shows that even though we think we've done everything, the industry is still evolving and sort of discovers new places to go.
There is a last question. Then I would like to thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Somebody's waving.
Hi, just wanted to ask something about innovation, since you're also responsible for innovation. How much of PUMA's impact do you see in future in terms of material innovation? Because, for example, the RSX collection was like a brilliant example of like running, form and functionality mixing together, but like also different colors coming together. That entire, I think it was a very successful collection for PUMA. So maybe pre-pandemic it came out. So like, what do you feel is like the future in terms of material innovation in general?
What I definitely think is that the true and impactful sustainability will come through material innovation. I think we're living in a time of recycling and reusing things. That's sort of the very first step of what we can do and like literally focus. But the true change we can do on discovering and putting investments in innovation of materials, because materials are the cause of pollution, most of it, and this is where the opportunities are. So this is one part, and this is a very important part for the whole industry to look into that and progress, whether it comes to biodegradability or reusability, etc. It's a lot of chemistry and a lot of like boring stuff, but that's the only way to impact a solution.
Amazing, cool. Thank you so much. This has been a huge honor. Thank you everyone for your attention.